What's up, everybody? Emceemur here, and welcome back to the show. And if you watched the show, you know that recently we took a look at the EVERCADE, which did not go as planned. We did have some problems with it. And you know, it's kind of a bummer too, because even though I knew by the time this arrived that I really didn't have a need for it personally, I was still kind of excited to look at it, experience it, and have just one more way to look at some of these games and to live stream them in a neat format. But that's not what happened. We had some functionality issues. We looked at that, and I gotta admit, I got pretty frustrated with it because of, you know, what those issues were, and I just didn't feel that for the price point on this thing that they should have been there. Now, a lot of you disagreed. There were a lot of newcomers to the channel, you know, that showed up in the comment section very angry about what I had to say about the EVERCADE. People that already owned it and were, you know, still looking at reviews for it. Now, I didn't mean to get anybody upset or ruffle any feathers, and a lot of people accused me of just that. Oh, you just don't like this so that you can get views. No, it doesn't. That's not it. That wasn't it at all. In fact, I mean, of course, you want views when you make a video, but the way to get those would be if this worked well and if we could live stream all the different games. And right out of the box, we had problems, you know. And I'm not going to sidestep that. I'm never going to sidestep that. I'm always going to tell you 100% what's going on. And we've just got to go down the list of those problems, and we've got to look and see if those still exist. Now, I told a lot of you that were upset in the comments, stay tuned. We're going to look at another unit, because given the response, I felt that was warranted. I want you to leave from this thinking that I gave this the fairest shake possible. And if this unit does work perfect today, then, you know, we're still going to talk about a lot of the things we talked about last time that I'm not prepared to walk back. But we'll at least be able to give it a passing grade on functionality. But let's don't get ahead of ourselves. I've even made a little list here so we don't forget to touch on, you know, some of the different things. The biggest problem being that HDMI port. The fact that even touching it or bumping it when it's right near your controls will reset your game. It's got to work in the way that it was advertised. That was a big selling point for me, that it was HDMI compatible and can be hooked up to a screen. And really, that's just state of the art right now. All your mini consoles, stuff of any type, have that. So it needs to have that. For it to be top tier on the price chart there, it's got to offer all the amenities. Some of you said, oh, it's your HDMI cable. It's got to be your cable. Well, no, that was a brand new cable. But for the sake of argument, I bought another brand new cable that I really don't need, just so we can rule that out. But it wasn't the cable. But again, for argument, we have that. I bought the starter pack this time. I've already opened it. It's charging so that we can take a look at it. We're going to skip the unboxing because you already saw that either here or elsewhere. And I mean, if you haven't, I'll put the link to the last video here and you can see the unboxing of the 3-pack set that, you know, we had. But this is the starter pack. It comes with the Atari collection. It's only $80 and not $100. So if you're really wanting to go all in on this, the $100 one would be the biggest bang for the buck. But it's still not a bang for the buck. That's probably my biggest argument here. There was a snafu on the cart pricing on Amazon. I mean, when I was shopping them, knowing this was coming in, they were listed at $29.99. I think now, looking back, those were third parties selling those through Prime Fulfillment, and that Amazon was just out of these at that moment, because they're all back on there now except for a couple of them, and they're all $19.99. So that was the retail. That was my mistake. It doesn't really poke any holes in my pricing logic, the logic that this thing really prices itself out of being viable. Once you've bought this and 5 or 6 cartridges, you've bought a current gen system, namely a Nintendo Switch, so you've got your portability. Everybody asks, why would you compare this to the Switch? That's a crazy comparison. Well, there's a lot of reasons, and we will look at a lot of those reasons today. And that's just going to sound like I'm only here to talk you out of buying this, but before you talk yourself into buying this, I think it's only fair as a consumer to consider all of that and what all you're getting with a system that, you know, you may not even be aware of. I've reviewed a lot of collection stuff on the Switch that I guarantee you there's people out there that still don't know about it. They just don't see it, or the marketing wasn't there for it. But it's just stuff you got to know about before you drop all the money on this, before you decide this is really something that you want or need. Now, a lot of people talked about the Pico collection, and I don't disagree that this is a neat collection. But I had one person say, no, dude, you don't own any of the games on this system. There's no way you own these games. Well, there is a way, and it's called game hunting. It's called collecting, you know, and that's how you end up with some of these that are actual games now. 8-Eyes, Top Gear, the Immortal, stuff of that nature. I have those, and I have had those, and you can have them too. But as far as the independent stuff on here, apparently Pico buys up, you know, IPs that are unfinished and publishes stuff. And I mean, that's kind of neat, but who's to really say what all that's worth? And I've never heard of any of this stuff. Most of you probably haven't. So you can't really say that's a system seller. And as far as the games on here that are actual games, yeah, there's other ways to play those too. You either already have them, or a lot of these games are already on things. A lot of stuff to look at, you know. The controls are an issue. I don't want to do a firmware upgrade on it. I don't want to get into any of that unless the other stuff's working. We need to check the HDMI port. We need to check the headphone jack, some stuff other people have said they've had a problem with, and then we'll move forward. And again, I'm not here to diss this thing. If this thing is functional, I'll hold on to it, and we'll continue to look at it in its own series here on the show for what it's worth. But I'm trying to be 100 with you, and I just want people to leave from here knowing that. You know, I'm not giving something a bad review just for funsies. It didn't work. You saw it poop the bed in real time, okay? Because if I'm going to have the issue, then so are other people. You know, it doesn't happen just once. Let's get this thing going. Again, we've had it charging. I want to get it hooked up, and let's see if this unit behaves better than the last one. All right, so here we go. We've got our EVERCADE. It's charged up, and we're ready. Now, we have our brand new HDMI cable. We're going to get that open. Again, just for the sake of argument, we're going to make sure and use a new cable. Hooking it up. That doesn't feel any different from the last connection. I mean, it's in there about as securely as a cable's going to get in there. I mean, moving around shouldn't mess it up in theory. But last time, we couldn't keep it connected. Now we're going to just put the Atari cartridge in for now. If this works, we'll look at the Pico collection too. The cartridge fit better on this one. On the last one, God, it really didn't want to go in there. That slid in a lot easier. Ah, okay, EVERCADE. Did it just do it again? I swear to God it did. Boom. Come on, man. Are you kidding me right now? We're not doing this a third time. I've told y'all. We're not doing this a third time. Alright, it's up. I barely even moved. I'm not even touching it. And it did it again. Voing! Alright, we got it plugged up here. I'm going to play some Crystal Castles now. Let's give this another shot. I hope it can stay connected. Okay, we're getting into a game. Come on now. I mean, it would be cool if this worked. Okay, I'm moving it. I'm not going to touch it, but I'm moving it. Okay. We're getting it. Seems to be okay for right now. Knock on wood. Okay. Oh, well, we got through a round of Crystal Castles. Seems to be okay now. It just didn't want to stay connected at first. And we weren't really touching it or moving it. It was just resetting itself. Oh, we got the honey. So great. Crystal Castles is always great. Asteroids, maybe? Okay. I mean, it's hanging in there now. That's a first. I mean, that's what we want it to do. I mean, I keep saying my intent was not to dog this thing. I really was surprised that it did what it did. And so, you know, maybe it was just a bad HDMI port on the other one. Although we had a little issues here at the start with this one, but I don't know. It seems okay now. Alright, so we're in on the Pico collection. Let's check out the Immortal. Nice. Ooh, got him. Cool. I mean, it looks good. You just gotta keep bouncing off that, and Waduga. Whew. Love those animations on the kills. Okay, so the Immortal is on here. That's an important detail for later on. It's hard to hate this. What the hell? He said, that's great. I don't remember him saying that. I am 10% more into this now. There's a lot of role-playing on this collection too, and I don't hate that. If any of these end up being some sleeper hits, you know, something that I'll end up being really into, that'll definitely make this collection worth it. So yeah, I'll back up a little bit. You know, I told you this looked like a good collection, but for the reason that it had stuff on here that I already had. But it looks like there's going to be some stuff beyond that that I am going to like. So I'm going to give it that. I'm 20% more into this now. I mean, this is pretty cool looking. I would play this. And this is the longest the thing's gone without hiccuping, so maybe we're done with that? I don't know. I mean, it seems fully functional right now. I mean, I'm moving it, I'm tweaking it, I'm playing. I'm still trying not to hit the cord, but I think we're getting the hang of this thing. It's working now. It had to be a bad HDMI port on the last one, because any little movement, boom, it was shutting down. So, got us a little beat 'em up going here. Let's see what this is all about. Alright, this is pretty cool looking. Woo! A little bit of blood. A little bit of button action. Doesn't feel bad. I could see playing this. This is kind of cool. Wait! Oh, they're a little winded. Are those onions? Or garlic? A turkey leg. The hallmark of every good fighting game, where you can pick up turkey legs anywhere that you find them. This isn't bad. So on with the presentation. You know, it's just time to talk about what else we've got going on the Switch side of things, for those of you that may not know, and for those of you that wanted to ask, why compare the EVERCADE to the Switch? Because you want retro games on a handheld, right? Okay, well, chances are you already own a Switch. Sales numbers suggest that some of you definitely do. Come on. But if you don't, I mean, come on. Why have the money in this? We've talked about the money you're going to have in this, okay? $80 to $100 to get started. Then you're going to buy 4, 5, 6 cartridges. You're going to be in at $200 at some point, and you're still not going to have what the Switch is getting you. So just have the money in a Switch if you don't already have it. That's the argument. And we're going to look at this collection right now. The Double Dragon and Kunio-kun Retro Brawler Bundle. Why? Because we looked at the Technos collection for the EVERCADE in the last review. I mean, there were some cool games on it. 8 games. What about 18 games? Okay. That was $20 on the EVERCADE. This was on sale for $19.60 on the Switch. And again, you're getting 18 games on this. Now, it doesn't have Super Double Dragon. These are the 8-bit games. But, you know, come on. This is a great collection. I love this layout. It's reminiscent of the Nintendo Mini plug-and-plays. I mean, this is great, dude. I mean, this is what's up. You've got all the Japanese ones, too, on here. So this is an example of, oh, well, no, I really didn't have these games. So, man, and it looks good. So, that's a great deal there. Great collection. And one example of where you can definitely get what you want done on the Switch for the same money and get more for that money. Nintendo Switch Lites right now are going for as low as $179 for a pre-owned one. Not even saying you want a pre-owned one that I would recommend buying that, but I'm just saying by the numbers, if we've got to make those figures work, there you go. You can buy the Switch Lite for $179, drop the remaining $20, putting us at $200 on the online service, which we'll look at next, and then, oh my goodness, the doors that open up to you. No Lindas are going to be coming out of. The online service, man, it's a beautiful thing. Almost 70 games just on the NES part alone. We're not even looking at the Super Nintendo section yet. I mean, there's some amazing stuff on here. So here's your retro. Here's the games you want to play. You know, not a bunch of stuff you never heard of. Come on, man. And oh, look who decided to show up. Look who decided to show up. The Immortal. Which brings up an interesting topic. Why the Immortal? Because, man. Because it's licensing on these games. That's why you see some of these games in a lot of different places. We had the Data East collection for the EVERCADE that we looked at on the last episode. We had it with that set. Those same games are available on other things. They're available on the At Games Legends Flashback. Some of those games were available on the Arcade 1-Up Burger Time cabinet. What I'm getting at is the licensing for those specific games is out there. It's low-hanging fruit. They can get those. It just speaks to the fact that this handheld is not really doing anything that exclusive, and that's the big argument that, you know, people are trying to make, and it doesn't hold up. It just doesn't. So, I mean, look at all this. Come on, dude. Now, it's $20 a year. You will have to renew that, but why wouldn't you? Oh my goodness. What a great collection of games. 31 games on this so far, it looks like. So a total of 100 so far of legit titles to play on the Switch online service. So, I mean, fantastic. With online play, need Atari games? No problem. Look no further than Atari Flashback Classics. And you know, this is available in 3 different volumes for $20 a piece, you know, on Xbox One and PS4. 50 games, 50 per volume, but it's all in one set for the Switch. And it's been on sale as low as $20. I think it's around 34 retail, but you get 150 games on this great collection. And this great collection also features Atari 5200 games, which that's never before been offered anywhere else that I know of. So I fell out of my chair when I saw that, because it'd been a hot minute before I've been able to wail on some 5200 stuff, a system that I grew up with. So man, this is where it's at right here. Fantastic stuff. Need Namco? Well, they've got it. The Namco Museum Arcade Pack. We looked at this day one when it came out. Had a great launch day stream on it. This is another game that's gone on sale as low as $20, but now I think is around $31.99, maybe $34. You know, and they'll go on sale again, and if they don't, you can always look for digital sales too. But this is not a bad collection at all, and it's arcade versions of the games, which is absolutely cool. We got the Pac-Man Championship Edition on here as well. And, you know, I will say for EVERCADE, they've got some cool stuff on their Namco collections. There's 2. You could have just made it 1. Come on. I mean, at what point are you milking me? Come on. But there's 2, and I've never been able to get them for... I mean, I would have had those to review with this on the first review, except that they've been out of stock since then. You can't get them. At least on here, on the Switch, I can get these games digitally if I can't find them physically, but... I'll give EVERCADE some credit. They added Battle Cars to one collection, which if you haven't played Battle Cars, oh my god, that's a good one. Surprised they even knew to put that on there. And Phelios, which is another fantastic one. Shooter, it's a must play. So great that they included those. So that's good for their, and that's not going to be on this collection now. That when this is this is Namco all the way. It's exactly what you think it would be. It's all your Pac-Man Galaga action. But, yeah, it's on here. There's ways to play those games. And again, arcade versions. And I know that's important to everybody. It just is. I don't want this to come off as a Nintendo Switch commercial. That's not the point of this. The point is that the Switch is just the sensible alternative here, and it's likely one you already own. That's the only point I'm trying to make. If you're going to end up having $200 in EVERCADE stuff anyway, then the option is obvious that you just go with a Switch and you make sure you have one, or if you already have one, you don't put money in another handheld that's less quality and does less. That just seems really simple to me. I mean, by the numbers. So let's just close out on some final thoughts here if we can. And it looks like there's still more to check out with this thing. This is probably not going to be our last episode on this. Now, I'm not ready to give this thing a passing grade yet, obviously. I'm just not. There are issues still afoot. There's going to be the button layout. That eventually has got to change with the firmware, you know, unless you just want to get used to the B and A being swapped, which I mean, I guess you could do, but I would rather not do. I've heard of sound issues. Now, I'm not running into any of that, but I have been told there are sound issues that you're going to encounter in some software that you're going to want to patch that to fix it. Now I'm even hearing that there's issues with the save states that also needs another firmware update. So I don't know, that's just a lot of maintenance, man. For what this thing costs, I mean, it just depends on if you want to do all that. But these reviews are to make sure that you know going in what you've got going on, because I've seen other reviews on this. Not everybody talked about that stuff, but I'm listening to what a lot of folks are saying, and this is just some of the stuff that I'm getting bounced off me here, some of the stuff to think about. This Pico collection really did win me over. I mean, some of these games that I've never heard of look pretty good. I mean, we've got some role-playing, we got some beat-em-up action. There may be some gems in here that I find that I really, really like, and that be a reason to own this thing, but I don't know. It may be a stretch to say that any of the things that we looked at were really system sellers. I mean, cool games in those genres, they are a dime a dozen. They really are. And, you know, again, I went back to the Switch. I went there. And that eShop, there again, those games, any of those in those genres, you know, you're going to find games like that there on the super cheap that you probably love just as much. So again, I can't say that any of those are system sellers yet. I'm just going to say I did like some of what I saw, and I'd like to see the other collections. I mean, I've seen enough here to where I will hang on to this thing and look at more with you on the show. We'll look at some more stuff on it, and if it stops working, if we have issues, we'll cross those bridges when we come to it. But you know, we know what we know, and you know, if you haven't bought in on this thing yet, what it costs, some of what it's going to offer you, and you know, what your alternatives are if you're really going to try to make sense of dropping that much money on this thing. Again, it's not some $30 bargain bin special at the Walmart. This thing's trying to make a name for itself, and it's not necessarily inexpensive. There are options out there that are around the same money that are going to be preloaded with tons and tons of games. Of course, we're talking emulation versus sticking a cartridge in there, but you know, you just got to weigh how important is that to you. You know, just a few years back, people were ripping on me for, oh man, you should just emulate. Well, I didn't want to emulate. And now that we're starting to emulate some, now everybody wants me to buy cartridges again? I mean, I've got cartridges. Which is it? Pick one. I don't know. I want you to drop a like on this video. Share it with a friend, and most importantly, if you have not already done so, I hope that you're going to subscribe to the Emceemur Show and be a part of Mer Nation, because we're rising up. All the fantastic things that we do right here on the show, you need to be a part of. Make sure that you smack that notification bell so you're always the first to know when new content goes live, because you know that I love making it for you each and every time. Thank you for watching this follow-up review. There will be more to come as the developments unfold, and I am signing out for this episode. I'll see you on the next one.